everyone, welcome to this week's Control Yourself video. Today we're working on isolating hip flexion. Hip flexion is when I'm doing this with my leg. I'm bringing the thigh closer to the body and there's a crease at the hip crease. So why is this important? It's important because for two reasons. One, a lot of times we couple, we bend our hip, we crease at the hip, we flex our hip, by using our hip flexor because it has to, but also we hike the pelvis, or we posteriorly tilt the pelvis. We do all sorts of things to help us get the leg closer to us or to compensate for a weak hip flexor. That's not terrible, except when it becomes a pattern and we can't isolate the hip flexor. The second thing is that sometimes it's weak. We are in a sitting culture, we're in a shortened position all the time. The answer is not to lengthen it and stretch it, although that's fine and that feels good and you should stretch all kinds of things in the body, but strengthening it is also really important and will get you faster results in finding more hip flexion and finding just all kinds of better movement quality in your hips. So we're gonna start with, you're gonna lay on your back. I recommend wearing socks, but if you'd like a blanket underneath your heels, that works just fine. You're gonna lay flat on your back and extend your legs forward. So when you take a look at my low back, I'm not doing anything with it. This is my neutral low back. And so hopefully you also have, or you can feel, a bit of an arch in your low back. There's no need to exaggerate the arch, it just is what it is. That's your lumbar spine, it has a natural curve to it. So we're gonna just notice that part of the body. You're gonna bring your feet together and flex your feet. So you're pulling the tops of your feet closer to you and your toes are pointing straight up towards the ground. Take your hands to your hip points. So the frontal hip bones, you can actually feel the protruding bones. Really take your hands to those points and you're gonna keep them there. You're gonna press, I'm gonna start with my left leg. You're gonna press your left heel down into the ground and slide the heel in towards you as you bend the knee. So what we're watching for is the left hip bone not hiking up towards your armpit. So that's what your hands are there for, to monitor that action. So you're driving the sit bone into the ground, you're driving your heel into the ground, and you're sliding your heel as close to your body as your hamstring will let you. So that's step one. Step two is to flatten your low back towards the ground. You'll feel both your hip points lift towards your low ribs. So what we're doing is finding neutral in the spine. You're gonna maintain neutral and now pull your knee in towards your chest, but watching again for that hip hike. This is where my hip really wants to lift to help me get the knee closer to my body. I'm not gonna let it. So I'm actually actively trying to draw my left hip down as I pull the knee up. This might be a fair amount of work already. From here, you're gonna do your best to keep your thigh as close to your body as it already is, and then begin to extend the heel up towards the sky. If your hamstrings are tight or if you're limited in hip flexion, you're gonna straighten your leg and then you'll find that the leg lowers. So feel free to keep the knee bent, keep reaching with the heel, just maintain that distance between the thigh and the body that you already found. Lift your arms up to the sky, your low back is still grounded, and then without moving your ribs, you're gonna reach your arms up and back. So this is a warrior three on the ground. You'll bring your hands back, you'll take a breath or two, bring your hands back down to your hip points. You're reversing exactly the same. You're gonna bend the knee, you'll just re-arch your low back, you'll set the heel down, you'll push and slide down. So you'll do that on both sides and then you get to do it together. So heels press down into the ground, you're gonna slide them in towards your body as close as you can. Flatten your low back towards the ground and pull the knees in. So keep the tailbone grounded and almost like it's trying to reach towards your feet. I should say in the direction of past your feet. There we go. And then continue to pull the knees in. So I'm not rounding my low back off the ground. That's really key. Tailbone stays down, low back stays down, knees drive in. So my hip points haven't really moved. I'm gonna keep my thighs and my chest this close to one another. I'm just gonna extend the legs up towards the sky. Again, my legs don't come fully straight. I've got super tight hamstrings, but I'm maintaining the hip flexion. That's key. Take your arms up towards the sky, lift them all the way back behind you. Nothing's changed in your rib cage. You take a few breaths here, bring the hands back to your hip points, rebend the knees, set the heels down without arching your low back. So just a little abdominal work there. See if you can set the heels down, keeping the low back on the ground, just sneaking in a little ab work. Unfurl the low back off the ground, slide the heels forward. So I went through that kind of quickly because I want to maintain short videos, and it's meant for you to be able to do it not really alongside, but just kind of take a look at what I'm doing and then try it for yourself and have a video playing in the background for some cues. If you have any questions, let me know. All right.